Welcome to SORMAG's Writers Café, where we share the real life of the writer over a cup of friendship, sprinkled with laughter and wisdom. My name is LaShaunda Hoffman, and I'm your host for today. My tongue does not want to work with me. This episode's sponsor is Building Your Readership by LaShaunda Hoffman, a new Kindle book. Are you ready to become a social butterfly? Inside this new episode, LaShaunda shares 10 ways to start building your readership. Increase your book sales as you learn how to be consistent with your book promotion. Each episode includes action steps to implement to help you become a social butterfly. Check the show notes for the link. Today at the cafe with me is LaTanya Brooks. I'm super happy to have her here. Welcome, Miss LaTanya.
Hi, thanks for having me.
All right, so please tell us a little bit about who you are, what you write, and hopefully give us an excerpt of one of your books.
Okay, so my name is LaTanya Brooks. I'm an author and an educator, and I write books that inspire children to dream big and to pursue STEM-related careers. You may ask, what is STEM? STEM is an acronym for science, technology, engineering, and math. And the reason that I focus on STEM is because these are jobs that generally help make the world a better place. At the same time, these are also the jobs that are sustainable because they're going to be around, and coincidentally, they pay well. And the truth is, when it comes to African Americans and women, we are behind. Only about 23% of African Americans are in STEM-related fields. And if you look at the women, the rates are even more staggering. They're about 5% Hispanic women and about 2 or 3% African American women that are in the good quality, high-paying jobs that ain't going nowhere. Okay? So one of my books is Adam Baum, the Autistic Engineer. And this book is about an autistic kid who wants to be a mechanical engineer, and he goes through some things. He's, people see him as weird, as different, but there's a very pleasant ending to this book. Now, this book is inspired by 4 people in my life. I have a cousin, well, actually 2 cousins that are autistic, and 2 of my best friends' sons. So this one, I'm not going to read an excerpt, but I'm going to read the dedication to you. So this book is dedicated or inspired by Jacoby Moses, Sebastian Garcia, Javier Hernandez, and Deneric Brooks. When other kids see me in daycare, they don't want to play with me. Once they get to know me and see that I'm normal, then they treat me better. Jacoby Moses. Mom, I wish people would just see me and not my autism. Sebastian Garcia. Jesus, just remember that I'm autistic, and sometimes I have no filter. Javier Hernandez. Forget how the world sees me. I'm doing my own thing. Deneric Brooks. Okay, so this is Adam Baum, the Autistic Engineer, and the next book is Marisol, a little girl with a big dream. Do you know what you want to be when you grow up? In the book Adam Baum, the Autistic Engineer, Adam is determined to become the best mechanical engineer ever. Marisol, on the other hand, dreams of becoming an environmental chemist. In Marisol, a little girl with a big dream, Marisol is like a butterfly, which represents growth, beauty, change, and big dreams. In fact, the Spanish name for butterfly is mariposa. Adam and Marisol both have big dreams. Whether you want to help people or make the world a better place, it is never too early to dream big. So this is Marisol. She decided she wanted to be an environmental chemist after she saw what pollution was doing to the world. And finally, I have 2 more books, but these are companion books. One is A Brown Girl Like Me, and the other is These Shoulders I Stand On. Both books feature most of the same brown women and in poetic fashion. So the adult version is These Shoulders I Stand On. I really say adult, but my 5th, 6th, and 7th, and 8th graders really like this one. So it's really for older kids on up to adults. And this is a coffee table book, and it takes you on a journey from historical journey from Sojourner Truth to Kamala Harris. And it's sequential, so it starts off with Sojourner Truth in the 1800s, and it ends with Kamala Harris. Now, A Brown Girl Like Me, the poems are shorter. They're the same poems, except A Brown Girl Like Me, I may only have like 1 or 2 stanzas of it. And sometimes I water down the language for a smaller or younger audience. But this book is, this one has a storyline. The coffee table book has these beautiful pictures, look like oil paintings. The colors are rich, and it features all of these women, and in the back there's even more information. So I have like a little mini bio of each lady, 28 to be exact. So I'm going to go ahead and read an excerpt from A Brown Girl Like Me. Hi, my name is Arby. When I look into the mirror, what do I see? Do I see everything that I can be? Perhaps I can be a mathematician, engineer, or even the first lady, or maybe have my own show and networks on TV. I can be a lawyer, run for office, or even be the vice president. Hey, why don't you join me on an adventure as I travel through time? Celebrate great women of the past and the present. And now here is, I'm looking at a television broadcast, and guess who it is? It's Abby Phillips. And she has some breaking news. So let me go back to the book. Welcome to Women's News Network. I'm Abby Phillips. Today is a history-breaking moment. The United States just elected its first female vice president. She is also the first Asian American, Jamaican American, Caribbean American, and Indian American to be elected as vice president. Wow, that's a lot of firsts. And Aubrey is standing behind the podium in the Rose Garden with the White House behind her as she says, someday I will be the president of the United States. And now it shows her putting her hand on the TV, and what do you know? It looked like she's being sucked in. She's a human now, by the way. And now she turns into a cartoon. She's been sucked into an alternate world. So I'm going to start reading from the book again. Whoa, who are you? Where am I? Why are people riding on horses and wagons, I asked. My dear Aubrey, the year is 1826, and my name is Linda. I am your fairy guide. Many great women of the past worked hard and fought marvelously so that girls and women could have equal rights. These women are leaders that will remind you to stand tall, be proud, and be who you are meant to be. Grab your passport and get it stamped at each stop as you take your journey through history. And so after that, she goes on this journey, and she starts to learn about all of these different women. So that was the beginning of the book, but I guess I wouldn't do justice if I didn't at least read some of the poems. And the poems are really short, so I'll read 3. The first is Ida B. Wells. Ida B. Wells was stunned and upset by things that she would see. Miss Wells knew deep inside her heart that this should never be. She was rejected and excluded for simply showing strength. because women back then weren't supposed to vent. As an activist and journalist, Ida B. exposed unfair truths about the racial issues that impacted the future of our youth. Claudette Colvin and Rosa Parks. Claudette Colvin was 15 years old when she was both radical and bold. Later, Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat. Ms. Parks wasn't ready to accept defeat. These revolutionary moves started a new trend. Blacks stood up tall and fought for segregation to end. And the last poem is Ruby Bridges. Ruby Bridges timidly walked into that school, knowing that no blacks allowed was always the rule. It even made the news for the whole world to see. Her courage opened doors for kids like me.
Those were great. Thank you. Thank you for sharing them.
Okay. Did you want me to read at least one poem from the adult version book so you can see how they're a little longer, a little different?
Yeah, go ahead. Go right now.
Okay. So this one I'm going to read Maya Angelou. Because I love Maya Angelou, you know, so she's a poet and she inspired me. But the reason why I want to read this is because I kind of snuck all of the titles of a lot of her poems into my poems. So I'm going to see how many references you can catch. Here we go. Maya Angelou. Maya Angelou, who was indeed a famous poet laureate, spoke out on many social issues that encompassed blood, tears, and sweat. Maya Angelou reminded me that still I rise. She was a phenomenal woman in the world's eyes. Angelou understood the heart of a woman, yet different, there's much that we have in common. Refusal to be caged bird or to settle for less, and always a woman striving to be our best.
That was good. That was good. Okay. I'm thinking maybe 5 titles.
Let's see. I haven't counted myself. Let's see. Okay, so we have Still I Rise, that's 1.
Mm-hmm.
Phenomenal Woman, that's 2.
Mm-hmm.
Part of a Woman, that's 3.
Mm-hmm.
Refusal, or Caged Bird, 5. And Always a Woman, 6. I got
okay, I just missed 1. All right. Almost I like Maya Angelou is from St. Louis, so she kind of, you know, I got a little special in my heart.
Okay.
That's where she did Cage Bird Sing. What happened to her here? It was here in St. Louis. She came to visit her mom. Stayed here. But yeah, those were good. Those are good. Good stories for kids and adults. Those are really good. I like that. I wanted to talk a little bit more about the STEM because I never heard that word growing up. I know that it's really a popular acronym now because but I think about when I was growing up, they didn't really teach about jobs per se. When I went to school in the 80s. I graduated in 85, so I'm old.
Okay.
But
I graduated in 90.
So they didn't talk about what type of jobs to get. Basically, that you would. My mother's generation is you went to school, you graduated, and then you got a job. We didn't. They didn't go to college, so my mother, excuse me, didn't push college. My junior year in high school, I joined the Navy. Okay. I didn't think my mother could afford for me to go to college, and I didn't know anything about college. I didn't know that I could get scholarships. I found that out my senior year. My senior year, I should have been finding out my junior year, but we didn't have really. If you weren't talking about college, then nobody was talking about college to you. And so,
I was the first generation.
And so, we didn't talk about that. We didn't talk about what kind of education to get, what kind of jobs to get. You just got a job, you know. So when I joined my junior year, the teachers were all surprised I had joined the Navy because they were like, "You're a straight A student. Why aren't you applying for colleges and stuff like that?" I didn't know anything about applying for college. My mother didn't go to college, so that wasn't. She didn't say, "Oh, you gotta apply." When I start, they still don't talk about going to college now. 20-some years, 30-some years later, it's almost like it's a secret that only certain people know. You know, and I really hate that, because if you come from a family that didn't go to college, you don't know that path unless somebody helps you to get on that path. And
you know what, coincidentally, that was one of the reasons why I wrote the first book.
Because I wanted to be a pastry chef in high school. I dreamed of going to Paris and studying with the chefs there. And I knew that my mother couldn't afford me to go to Paris. And so I was like, well, what else could I do? I wanted to see the world. And I saw a Navy ad one time, and the guys came to the school. The Navy guys came and the Marine guys came to the school and talked to us and told us to take the ASVAB test. And so I took the test, and then they came back and they said, well, which branch you want to go to? Well, the Navy was who came and talked to me first. I probably would have went to the Marines if the Marines had came and talked to me. But the Navy guy came and talked to me, and, you know, he's like, you could go to school. We could pay for you to go to school. You could get an education there. You could get a job, and you live on your own. And, you know, I was like, oh, wow. You know, so my mother at that going into the service was a big deal in the black community, in some black community. So she thought that was a good idea to go into the military. I have a job, I'd be safe, whatever. I don't think she was thinking about the war, that you could go to war too. And so
that's the first thing I think about.
Yeah, so she signed me up. And so my senior year, everybody was trying to give me these scholarships to go to different things. And I'm like, well, I already signed up to go to the Navy. Oh, well, you ain't signed. Then you had to swear in. So you ain't swearing in, you're not in the Navy yet. So I was like, oh, well, you know. But it wasn't giving me enough to go to college, you know, to get me there. But it wasn't paying for to live there. You know, they give you all this money to pay for the education, but you still got to live there. You got to pay for, you know, all that stuff, things that they don't tell you. So I went on ahead and went into the military, and it was probably the best decision I made, because most of my friends, they went off the freshman year and then they came back home because they didn't want to go to school. So, you know, and so I was like, I really was tired of school. I wanted to take it, and my son he took a gap year. I think they should let all kids do that and then go over, because most of the time that freshman year is the worst year ever, because you ain't focusing, you partying, you have a good old time, you ain't going to school, you know.
And they're not sure enough.
Yeah, and so I was like, okay. So I went to college. I went to the Navy the same time everybody went off to college. So they went off in September, and in October I went to the Navy, and it was a good decision for me. But when I got in there, I was undesignated, which I always tell kids, don't do that, which means you don't have a job. So you go, they can send you wherever they want to send you, which they did. But it helped me because I was able to choose what I wanted to do. And I went in and I watched the different things that you could do. And then I liked doing the supplies. And so that's what I ended up doing, being a supply clerk. But it helped a lot. I took college courses. I went to college. I didn't graduate. I went and did classes and stuff like that, but I was just trying to live my life. I wasn't thinking about school anymore. You know, you got a job, so why do you have to go back to school? You know, but when my daughter was trying to go to school, that's when I found out that it was a secret society. Nobody tells you nothing until it's too late. And, you know, even in the thing, you know, everybody, I found out that you had to apply for these scholarships. You got to fill out all these paperwork. I'm thinking my daughter is supposed to do all this, and she ain't doing nothing. Then I've talked to the people that did want to talk to you about it. They're like, LaShaunda, you got to fill out the paperwork. You got to help do all this stuff. You got to do all them kids ain't doing nothing. You want to get on in college. So she went to college. She got in college. She waited to the last minute because she wanted to go to she wanted to go to New Orleans, and her dad was like, "Oh no, that's too far. I'm not no." So she didn't want to apply for none of them. Then she kept thinking she was going to get in Wash U, and I kept telling her Wash U was all about the ACT test. You didn't do very well on ACT. She was a straight A student, but she didn't do well on the ACT test, and that's how you get it well. Yeah, and so she didn't because she thought she could go and take it again and again and again. And I'm like, no, that ain't how it works, you know. And so she didn't get her top school, which was Wash U. So she thought she was devastated. She didn't want to go nowhere else. And then her friends were like, yeah, we're going to KU. You can go to KU with us. And so we're rushing around trying to get her to get to KU. She got in and she went there, but kids have in their head that it's going to be, you're going to get in here, you're going to do this school, and then you're going to be getting a job. And it doesn't work that way. You got to go to 4 years of school, then you might get a job. And she wanted to be a nurse.
Kids, I just assumed that they knew, and they did. They was like, okay. It was like not an option for them. They was like, okay. It was always we go to school, try to figure out what we're good at, and we major in something in college, and hope we get it right, because if not, Mommy's going to pay more money because we're going to change our major 3 times. Of course it doesn't.
Well, what I found, my daughter taught us is that you listen to your children. Your children tell you. You just have to listen to them. A lot of parents don't listen to their kids, and then they end up in debt because this kid get up there and screw up. And I have 3 friends that are still paying for college, and their kid didn't finish it. They went up there and flunked out. And I was like, no, I'm not paying for you to flunk out. I need you to be serious. What are we going to do? Whatever. So she came back home the sophomore year, and she decided that she wanted to go to an accelerated program. And she did well with that. And so now she's a nurse. And so, her friends are just graduating. I think they all graduated this year, but she's been a nurse for 2 years, And so she was like, were you upset that I didn't graduate from college? I'm like, no, because you're doing what you wanted to do. That is my goal, is to be a productive citizen in the world. That doesn't mean you have to have a college education. And so my son, when he graduated, he took a gap year. And then he said, Mom, would you be upset if I don't go to college? Because I know you've been pushing college since we went to school. I said, yes. I said, but I learned from my daughter that just because I want you to go to college doesn't mean you want to go to college. And I'm not going to pay for education that you're not going to go up there and do. He's like, okay. So he got a job.
Son, I had bought into a Texas tuition plan. Starting when he was 3, so his tuition, his 4 years was already paid for when he got there. So he was at UT Arlington because he wanted to go to college. He was excited. We went on all these tours, and I really didn't think he would get homesick, but he was so homesick. It was like I would go visit him, and he would just talk and talk and talk. I'm trying to leave. I'm trying to go to my car, and he's just talking. He's just like, I'm just always here. I said, this is where you live. And so
he hated it.
Yeah, he liked it at first, and then after a while he was like, So, and he was only 4 hours away from me. So then he started changing his major, and so after about the 3rd time, actually this time it was time. After the 3rd time, I said, enough is enough. You going through all of this prepaid money with all these changes.
Right.
And so I kind of did because he had been going when he was in high school. He would go to the career office and he would take these quizzes, and it's supposed to lead you in the right direction and tell you what your interests are. And based on the quiz, every time he took it, he had no interest. So I just, I pay attention to him, and I was like, I said, you majored in mechanical engineering. You really don't because when you want to major in one discipline of engineering, they make you take all of the engineering courses, and they throw those courses at you early. You're taking your, like when I was in school, I started off at a community college. Then I got my bachelor's, then I got my master's. But when I was in the community college, I was able to take all my basics. Because while you're taking your basics, you're maturing, you're getting older, you're becoming yourself, and you may have a clearer vision of what you want to do. But in these colleges, what they do is they throw all of these they throw all of these classes in with your basics, all these core classes, and by the time it's time to change, you've already paid for these classes and you weren't able to use them, and you switch to another major, then you have to take the basic core classes for that. I think it's a money game. So
yes,
finally, I just told him, I was like, look, I know you like mechanical design, because mechanical engineering, heavily involves mechanical design. So I had looked up a major for him, based on what I felt he liked and what he was good at in high school, and what it seems like he would be more willing to do and happier doing. So I sent the information to him, because he was like, I'm going to come back and I'm going to U of H. No, don't try to go to U of H just so you can say that you go to a university. I said, because I'm looking at the major and it's not there. I said, but it is at the community college. So you can come back, go to the community college. I said, I'm going to send you these courses, the course description, and tell me what you think. So I sent it to him. He was like, yeah, I like that. So he came on home, and then he ended up going to the community college, Lone Star, and taking up mechanical design. Now he's a mechanical designer. He is working in his field, and he feels all important, has his own desk and everything. He was like, Mom, see? He was all excited. He went and got, they have like this little competition going on in his job. He went and got all of these, everything matches, by the way. And he has like a footrest, a massager footrest under his desk. He has these fancy cushions for his back and to sit on, and this mouse pad and the thing for the wrist. I mean, he went all out. And he just looked, because Harold's a lot older than my son. Harold's probably more my age, a little older than me. And he was like, okay, he got that. Yeah, I'm going to come back, Harold. Yeah, watch me tomorrow. Wait till my Amazon order comes in. So it was just funny hearing. Yeah, it was just funny hearing him talk about the little rivalry they had going on at work. But yeah, that's what he ended up doing. So now my daughter is a junior. She'll be a senior next year. She's in high school.
Mhm. Well, that's good. He found something that he likes to do. My son ended up. He works at GM. We got a job there at GM, and he really likes doing the job. So I was like, yay. At first he was saying he wasn't gonna stay, and I was like, okay, that's a good job with some good benefits. And then I came back and I said, you know what? He said, what? I said, I'm gonna take my words back. And he said, why you say that? I said, because I've worked with people who had good jobs and benefits, and they were miserable. They were miserable.
Yes.
But
they were staying in just for the benefits, huh?
Yeah, I said they were staying there just for the job, the benefits. I said, and then they was making everybody else miserable because they're miserable. So I said, if you don't like the position, you young enough now that you can leave. You don't have no family to take care of. Go do something that makes you happy. I said, because you don't want to be at no job for 30 years miserable. So he's like, I'm surprised you said that, Mom. I said, no, I've learned one thing is when it comes to a job, you have to be happy. You got to get up every day and go to that job, and you're miserable, then you're miserable, and that aura falls over the whole office. And you have worked with some people that are miserable, the whole day is miserable because you got to listen to them gripe and cry about how miserable they are. I don't want to work like that. No, you go somewhere else. I've said many people, you go to your cubicle, go on back over there, you spread misery over here, my lovely joy cubicle. No, you know.
What you were saying before, and remember when I said, yeah, that is coincidental because that was one of the stories that inspired me to write my very first book. And the very first one was Marisol, A Little Girl with a Big Dream. And this is a Mexican girl, and I made sure that her name was very Mexican, and she's a dark-skinned Mexican. And I had this lady that worked with me. She was actually the building technician at the school, and she was telling me about her nephew. And, it was just a tradition, in her family. You went to school and you graduated and you got into construction. And, so her nephew was in school and everybody, just pushed it on him and, just assumed that he was going to go into construction because that is just what they did. Now, the family didn't know anything about financial aid, how to apply for scholarships, how to fill out the application to even go to college. So he just went with the flow, but he was very unhappy because he really wanted to go to medical school. And, he was busy worried about stepping on their toes, disappointing them. And now I don't know if they had a family business or what the backstory was, but he just really didn't want to disappoint them. And so he kept his mouth shut for a while. And finally he decided to speak up. And, they started gathering the resources, figuring it out, and he figured out how to apply for financial aid. He ended up going to school. And, now he's a medical doctor and he's happy. And so when I heard that story, that really inspired me to write this story, because this story is about a little girl whose mother's not even making these plans for her that she's making for herself. And it's all because she read a book about pollution and she sees the harmful effects. And, now she's realizing she's coming into herself, even though she's young, but she's realizing that, hey, I want to help. I want to do something great when I'm older. I want to help make the world a better place. So that was my inspiration for this one. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and read an excerpt out of this one so you can get a better feel of Marisol, since it kind of relates, because we were talking about STEM and how people don't really talk about it. So it said, Tia Jelly looked at me and smiled. So, Marisol, what would you like to be when you grow up? With my head held high, I said, I want to be an environmental chemist. Wow, that sounds like an important job. What does an environmental chemist do? Asked Tia Jelly. Okay, so I have these familiar relationships in Spanish and English, so I like the fact that they can learn a little Spanish. So then it goes on and it explains what environmental chemist is. I make sure in all of my books that comes up where they have to explain what the job is. And then it has her standing on top of the world. Marisol, I am so proud of you for wanting to make the world a better place, praised Tia Jelly. And then I skip a few pages. Marisol, it is never too early to think about what you want to be when you grow up. It is also never too late to change your mind or your desires. You can be whatever you want to be. Just leave it up to your Tia Jelly. I will talk to mi hermana, my sister. Everything is going to be, I quickly interrupted. Actually, I think it is about time that I talk to me mama. I knew that if there was ever a chance to be understood by my mom, I would have to open up to her about how I really felt. So it really talks about starting those conversations at an early age. So this is a really good book for the kids to inspire them, but it's also a good book when, if the parents are reading the books to the kids, for the parents to see the book and to realize, oh, maybe there's a conversation that I need to have with my child. I wonder what, he or she wants to be. And, there are questions that reinforce your knowledge that's in the back of the book. I always have, little comprehension questions in the back of the book.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have like physical science terms. And I'm actually coming out with, I'm in the final stages of the workbook that goes with this book that is aligned with the standard core curriculum of schools.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, did you have a workbook? Because that sounds like that definitely needs a workbook.
Yeah, this one and Adam Baum, the autistic engineer, they both have workbooks.
That's good because I talk about working on your dream all the time, but I think that a lot of parents have skipped that. It used to be, what is it you want to be when you grow up? And then they said to stop asking your kids that because you put pressure on them. And I was like, well, you need to have some ideas. You have to pick one thing, but you should have some ideas of things that you want to do. And a lot of
my
kids,
book is the opposite of that. It tells you to do it because this child already has an interest, and the mom is out there busy buying dress-up doll sets, and she don't want to hurt her mom's feeling in the book because she wants a chemistry set. She don't want no dress-up doll set. She wants a chemistry set. And I'm going to give you some real-life examples of why that's a bad idea not to ask your child. They may not be ready. And when I do it with my kids, you know, I tell them, you know, we do these little exercises, and I teach pre-K through 5. So I start my kids early as 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. We start filling out little things, and I tell them, I was like, okay, so the very first question is, you know, what do you want to be when you grow up? And, you know, they'll say, oh, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be whatever. Okay, so when you were a younger kid, because, you know, they think, oh, I'm not a kid anymore, I'm 5th grade. You know, when you were a younger kid, what did you want to be then, and has it changed? And I gave them examples. I was like, you know, like, you may have wanted, when someone asked you when you were 3, you might say, I want to be Superman, or I want to be a princess. But, you know, your 10-year or 11-year-old self might say, you know what, I think I want to be a firefighter. And so we just start those conversations. You know, it's like no pressure. And kids listen to each other, and some say, ooh, that sounds neat. You know, I never heard of that. So I think it's really good to start those conversations. I have one kid who is a 4th grade student. I am a technology teacher, a STEM teacher, but I also am the school technologist, and I wear a lot of hats. And this year and these past 3 years with all of this technology that we've introduced because of virtual learning, we have more laptops on campus than we've ever had. And so I do all the fixing, repairing, and teaching and everything. And it's been overwhelming. So 4th graders are 9 years old. Her mother just posted something on Facebook, I think about a week ago. And she was showing, I got a cape that the staff gave me. It said Tech Wonder. And they know I like dogs, so they put like a little puppy on it. And it was a silk cape. It was red on the inside, blue on the outside. And this girl helped me so much this year, I passed my cape on to her. So I have pictures of me putting the cape on her, and then she just loves her cape. She just runs around the school with her cape on now. But this girl has helped me so much. She has re-imaged computers with me. I've taught her so much, and she has been my saving grace. But her mom mentioned when Clover was in the 1st grade, Miss Brooks, while Clover was in the class, picked up the phone and called me and said, this girl is something else. She's going to be something. She has a love for technology, and I am going to work with her on it because she is really enjoying this coding stuff. And she was like, okay, well, you know, whatever, you know. And so that was 1st grade. She's in the 4th grade now. That girl is at home building her own computer. So
but you know, I think a lot of
I'm really good at honing in. I have another kid who wrote a book of poetry. I'm gonna publish his book for him. I have another student who decided to write a book, a little Asian girl, and she was like, "Did you read my book yet?" Because I was like, "You got a chapter book." So I'm reading her book this weekend. But it's like, whatever their passions are, I'm so versatile and so resourceful. Bring me your passion, and I will take it to the next level.
See, that's
and
why
these
you're a
kids
wonderful
are
teacher.
young.
Yeah, that's why you're a wonderful teacher. I think that a lot of parents miss that. What is it that you want to do? What do you want? What I found is we do tradition. We do tradition. And so, for instance, if you were a kid and your parents made you play sports, then you make your kids play sports. Even though your kid doesn't want to play sports, you will pay that $350 a month so they can play sports because you play sports. I had a friend and she told me, "Why don't your kids go and do these after school do summer stuff?" I said, "They don't want to." "You give them a choice?" I said, "Yes." He's like,
Oh,
"Why?"
my
It
God.
costs
Yes.
money. I said, "I'm not paying $350 like your daughter is sitting in the field and playing baseball. She don't want to play, so she sits down in the field and don't play." And you're paying for her to sit in the field and don't play. She don't like baseball. My daughter asked me one time, "Why did you stop me doing dance?" I said, "Because every Saturday I literally had to pick you up screaming and crying, put your clothes on, put you in the car. You cried all the way to the dance studio, and then you cried all the way in the dance studio." So I was like, "I'm paying for you to be tortured." That's how I felt. I said, "So you didn't want to do that?" And she said, I said, "I think about it." And she's like, "I didn't want to get up and do that. Every Saturday you made me." And I've learned that we as parents, we do stuff because that's what our parents made us do. And so it's okay. You can do it. I wanted to be a ballerina at 5 years old. A ballerina. And my mother, they don't have black ballerinas, girl, because I saw it on TV. They looked beautiful. I wanted the tutu. I wanted to dance. They were little girls. They didn't have any black girls in there, but I didn't never look at it stuff like that. I always thought, why not? So my mother, my mother probably didn't have the funds to pay for it, but I think I might have been a ballerina. I might have been, I could have been Misty. I could have. They don't know.
You could have been the first prima donna ballerina.
That nobody knows. Nobody knows. So when I was in the Navy, community college had a ballet class. I took that class, and my inner 5-year-old was so happy. I was sore as a mud coming out of it every day, but I loved it. I never took another ballet, but my inner child was happy that she at least got to try to do that. And that's what I tell my kids. I want you to try. If you don't like it, then at least you tried at it. My daughter, she got on the track team, and she loved the track team, but she wanted to make money, so she decided she wanted to have the job than do the track. And my daughter could run her butt off. I think that they would have went to state whatever if she had done what she was beating them. And I was like, and the coach said that when she's ready, she'll come back, but she didn't go back. And when she got on, I said, "Girl, you could go to the Olympics." "Mama, you always thinking big." I said, "That's how you're supposed to think. Dream big." I said, "I'm a dreamer. That's what I do. I dream big." But she didn't.
That's the theme of my book, Dream Big.
And so when she graduated, when she went to college, that was one of the things, was your extracurriculum. She didn't have any extracurriculum because she went and her extracurricular was going to the job, getting the job.
That was me. That was me. I was always working.
And so she missed it. And so she's like, "Mama, you told me to go back to track." I said, "I told you to do track. I told you." She loved tennis. I told her to do tennis. She didn't listen to nothing I said. And she said, "How did you know?" I said, "Because everything I'm telling you is the stupid stuff I didn't do in high school that I needed to do. That it matters. It matters. That extracurricular matters when you're trying to get these scholarships. They want to see that you do.
They want to see that you're well-rounded."
Right, and I was like, I know this part because I didn't do that. And she was, "Oh, I should have listened to you." Yeah, same way my son, same way. he wanted to be on the basketball team, but he didn't want to practice. You can't be on the basketball team if you don't practice, dude. You can't be Michael Jordan if you don't practice.
My son was big in wrestling, but he loved it. He wrestled from middle school all the way to high school, and he was also in middle school. He was in the band and he was a wrestler. Yeah, pep rallies were interesting. Him going from the band to the wrestling to the football junior, and he couldn't change fast enough. So he's walking in the band and he still has his football uniform on. He's the only one with a football uniform on. So that was interesting. But he in high school he got with, I don't know if they still called it the Key Club. I think they did. They do. But it's an organization where you sign up for different volunteer opportunities, and you get these hours. And, I mean, he even got a certificate for excellence for having the most volunteer hours. So, yeah, I talked about that to him, and I was like, they're going to want to see that you're involved with the community. They're going to want to see that you're well-rounded, that you're a team player. You've been in the team sports, shows that you work well with others.
Right.
My kids, those are the type of things that they like to see.
They were so busy trying to make money. I'm like, look, Mama, why do you want me to get a job?
Yeah, that was me, though. See, my children followed. I guess I did something different with mine. And, see, I always felt like that I need to be the rule breaker. I always felt like I was the one that needed to break generational curses. I felt like that I was going to say, I'm going to create new traditions. I'm going to create my own traditions. And, that's just who I am. So I didn't do things the way I did it. I wanted my children to do things differently. And I was like your daughter. I just worked. I just wanted to work. And, that's what I did. And as a result, when my son went to college, I would be all in the bookstore buying all this stuff, buying shirts and stuff. Mom, it's my school, not yours. And they have like this little, they have like this.
You was geared down, huh?
Oh man, I was like, shoot, I was in college, okay? I gave him my money. I was in college, so I was living vicariously through him.
And a lot of parents do sometimes.
I joined the PTO. They have a PTO in college. I was like, what? So I joined.
My mom told me I couldn't. Don't you sign up for the PTO?
They had fall festival. I was there. I would just hop on that freeway, take that 4-hour trip like I was going to class. I was like,
my daughter didn't tell us about the Parents' Day thing. She told us for something else, and we get up there, so we didn't sign up for none of the stuff because she didn't tell us. My husband was so mad at her. He was like, what in the world? They had all kind of activities for the parents. We getting up there. She got us up here taking her to the grocery shop. He said, what did they do? Where is our shirt?
They do.
And they had their little shirts on, and we didn't have shirts. My husband like, where's our shirt at? She's like, you wanted a shirt? We paying all this money for this. You better get us our shirts. She was like, I didn't think y'all wanted to do any of that stuff, so I didn't sign y'all up. We like, what do you think we came up here for? Just to take you to the grocery store? We're like, okay. It was funny.
Yeah, I was like when we move-in day. We went up there for move-in day. And they even had like this, like before move-in day, they had a thing where the parents were invited. We had all these meetings and activities and stuff. And my daughter and I went, and they put us in a dorm. And our dorm room was like next door to my son's dorm room because they put him in a separate one. And so, that was a fun experience because, I didn't have that. I was the person that went to college and worked full time at the same time. So I wasn't in a dorm room like that. And rode 1, 2, 3 buses to school and stuff.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, I was living that life.
Yeah. Yeah, I always say that I'm glad I went into the military because I did get to experience the dorm life and living with cuckoo people and sharing
Yeah.
space with other people that's not your family member. So I don't think I would have missed that too much. And my daughter, once she did live in the dorm, she was like, "This ain't all it's cut out to be." I said, "I could tell you
Yeah.
that."
Yeah, my son, so he had a roommate, and they were so opposite.
Yeah, she had two
They,
crazy,
they didn't
nasty
even,
roommates. She was like,
yeah,
"Oh,
they didn't
mom,
hardly talk to each other that much.
nasty." I was like, "Yeah, everybody don't clean up the way you clean up, so you know that's the thing about
Yeah,
living."
yeah, see. That's the problem. See, the person if my daughter decides to go to college, that's going to be her roommate. Like, oh
Hating
my
her.
gosh, that girl.
But you know what? Though they different people when they
She's
move
like
out.
a cat.
Yeah,
Now she's going to forever be the Tasmanian devil.
because
She
my
walks through
daughter,
the
I was
room
really
and
surprised on
like a
her. I was like,
hurricane.
everything looked like a tornado ran up in your room, and she like,
Yes.
"Ooh, people don't clean up behind themselves." And I was like, who, hello?
It's different. No, no, you know what? It's different when it's somebody else's mess.
It is.
That's
Yep.
what it is. Mm-hmm.
Yep. I'm a pack rat, but it's my pack stuff. I know where my stuff is at. Don't be bringing your stuff in my stuff. So I understand.
You know how to find everything.
Right. And I said that's a mad. I said messing to this madness. I know myself. I got in trouble one time by the big boss. He gonna come and tell me to clean off my desk. I said, dude, that's my desk. Why are you worried about my desk? You know, I know what all these stacks mean, what they for. I was like, oh my goodness. But yeah, everybody, he had a clean desk. He had nothing on his desk. But that's your madness. A clean desk for me means something is wrong. I ain't doing nothing. When I'm my piles, that means I got work to do. I got stuff I'm doing today. If my desk is cleaned up, I'm done.
My desk looks very productive, very worked on, very lived at. Okay.
Right. Then his desk looks like he ain't got nothing to do today. What you been doing?
It looked like it's just there for decoration, huh?
Right. That's the whole thing. But that's what happens when you're a neat freak and you a pack rat.
Mm-hmm.
We have fun together. I have enjoyed this conversation. We've talked about the writer's life.
Yes.
The life of the writer, the madness, the craziness that you deal with, the crazy children. People don't talk about that. Yes, I wrote 500 words today. Yeah, I had to kill my kids today. And then I wrote 1,000 words because I had good stuff to talk about.
Yeah. It was funny, though, because I had a speaking engagement, and it was Zoom because it was in New York, and they gave me an option. I was like, well, no, because I was speaking for free, so I'm not going to travel out there. So
Right.
This girl was like, so one of the students asked me, so what inspired you to write? When you decide to write a book, do you just, sit and say one day and just say, I want to write a book about a cat that fell in the toilet? And I said, yeah, pretty much. But it's something because, like, if somebody will say, what is your next book going to be about? Or are you going to write another book this year? I could never answer that question because when I decide to write a book, something hits me and I get inspired and I was like, I want to write about this. So, and it could be me observing somebody going through something and realizing a lot of people are going through this. It could be something that's going on in the world, something that I feel needs to be brought to people's attention. For example, you were talking about STEM and how it wasn't talked about much. And that acronym it hasn't been around forever, but it has been around for quite some time. And the first book that I wrote, My Soul, I wrote it in 2017. And when I first wrote it, I always had to explain what STEM stood for. And now I don't have to explain it as much, but I still do sometimes. And but I see that people are learning more and more about it, and they know what the acronyms stand for, and I just feel like in the Black community, we really need to talk about it more because what I do with another thing that I do with my kids, I'm very forward thinking with my kids, and they love it. So one thing that I do with them is we look at, I pull up YouTube videos and I show them things, jobs that we used to have that no longer exist. Remember when, and I'm telling, look, my age, or I'm telling our age. Remember when, you had a railroad crossing, and it was actually somebody that had to operate that thing. And there was also, and like, look at all the parking lots we have now. A lot of it is, you'll still have a person there sometimes, but a lot of it is automated.
Yeah, when I used to work downtown, that was the job. You had a guy that watched the parking lot, and now you don't. And you got to have and now some of them you got to have, used to be you had to have the exact money you put in there. Now you can use your phone to pay for parking. The last time I parked, I used my phone for paying for parking because I was like, oh, I don't have any change to put in. I was like, and I went and looked at the machine, and I was like, oh, they don't take change anymore. They like put this in the thing and put it on here and tell how much you want to buy. And I was like, okay. So yeah.
And even when you go to the grocery stores, look how much the labor force is diminishing because you have all these self-pay. And it's like I go to CVS, and there's nobody behind the counter waiting for me anymore. I just go to the self-checkout, the CVS on our corner. So, it's like technology and innovation is taking over. But I also show them it's the age of AI. It's a YouTube series. But I like to show them just the episode that talks about artificial intelligence and is it going to take over the world? Because, they hear people saying, oh, these computers, robots, they're going to take over. And so I help them understand that, no, they don't replace humans. What they do is they reduce the labor force, but they also make jobs more efficient to increase productivity for humans. And one example in that video that we watched, there was one guy. He was in construction. He was a construction manager, and he used to work down on the ground, and he would instruct people on what to do, direct things, and there was a lot that he was involved in, and he used to have to climb ladders and do this and climb stairs, and he was just saying it was labor intensive. Now he's much older, and he doesn't have the physique that he used to have, and he's not able to climb those ladders or walk those stairs anymore. Excuse me, I'm coughing. But because of this new technology, he did not have to go home and retire. He knew the job better than anybody. So when they brought the new technology in, they taught him how to use the new technology. Now he's up here in this big office with this window where he can see everything that's going on. He's in the AC, and he's controlling everything. And this was somebody who probably would have been deemed obsolete. And another example was with the truck drivers. They had self-driving trucks. I keep muting because I keep coughing.
I understand.
That they have
That's kind of scary to me, though. Them self-driving trucks. Them scary to me.
Yeah, and so, but this lady was in the truck, and so they showed how the truck was not able to make common sense decisions.
Right, because you have idiots driving out there.
So, yeah, but she was still allowed to keep her job, but she was in the truck. It was a self-driving truck, but there are times that she had to take control.
Mm-hmm.
And she said she loves it. She said it didn't replace her. It made her job more bearable. It made it easier. She's not as tired. But I showed them these things to help them understand. They're going to need somebody to program this stuff. They're going to need people to operate this stuff. And programming, coding, innovation, creating new ideas, engineering aren't going anywhere. Because as soon as something gets old, you're creating something new. Mm-hmm. You're already in the, to know. So that's something that I like to expose them to. And I usually don't do that with my elementary students. I do that with my 7th and 8th grade students.
Mm-hmm. But I think that's wonderful because you opening up a different world to them. I always wanted to be a writer, but no one told me I could be a writer. I didn't figure that out until I was in my 20s. And I did a lot of different things when writing was what I've always wanted to do. I got a job, but I met someone. I always tell Omar Tyree was the first person I ever met who said he made a living from writing. And I was like, you can make a living from writing? I never heard nobody say that. You hear people say they wrote a book, but they still had a job.
Oh, yeah, me. Getting there.
So, but I just, now I tell people to, life is so short, and we spend so much time doing stuff for other people than what we want to do for ourselves.
And that's what my kids are telling me at this point in my life.
Yeah,
and it's look, it comes mostly from my 16-year-old. Because she sees how selfless I am, and I'm always helping people. Like I said, the same thing I do to my with my students, I do that with everybody that I meet. And if you walk on my campus, and you'll hear people echoing the same thing. If you got a dream, Brooks, because they call me by my last name without the miss. Brooks will take it to the next level. You walk into her class with an idea, you walk out with half of your business plan.
Mm-hmm.
Because I get excited for people, and I started mentoring young people, and I got them, to go get their business license, to open their business accounts, to create their websites, develop their products, and then I got them places where they can do pop-up shops. And so now what I've done is I am an author, I'm an educator, and I'm also an entrepreneur. So I call myself an edupreneur. And so my parent company is HERStory LLC, and it's leading edge products and services that inspire and educate. So once you go to my website, you'll see that I have 4 companies underneath it. One is the Grow with STEM. My book series is Grow with STEM. And my when I go out, when I'm invited to speak at schools, I'm Grow with STEM. I wear my logo, my polo logo that says Grow with STEM, and that's who I am. And I'm just inspiring, and I'm entertaining, and I'm just showing them how fun science could be and technology. When I am publishing my books are the Grow with STEM series, but I publish them under the Next Level Book Publishing label. That's my label. Now, I don't publish anybody else's books, but what I'm doing is I write a blog giving indie authors little tidbits of information on, I'll go, we're part of these different Facebook groups, whatever, and I see a lot of people asking the same question, and I was like, you know what, people need to know this, so I'll create a blog, and I'll share it on that site or, in that group or wherever else authors may need that information. So it's more like a service that right now I'm just blogging and I'm just giving away the information. I give little tidbits. And so that's my next level book publishing. And then I decided, because I have other friends that's entrepreneurs, and I had one friend that's a trainer, and she was in my house training me. She's my physical trainer, so we were exercising. She training me, and, I'm done, and I answer the phone. I'm giving out all this information, and my friend looks at me and said, okay, so are you charging them? I was like, no. She was like, okay. This week, how many people have you talked to? I said, 4. And how long did you stay on the phone with each, giving them business advice? I said, probably about an hour with each. She said, okay, at $75 an hour, you could have been that much richer this week. She said, you got to stop. She said, because people are going to always come to you. You have to stop. And this is what you enjoy. So it's valuable. So if you want to make a living doing it, you have to put a price tag on it. So what I'm doing now is I'm creating a business curriculum for small, and my target audience is really young people who are starting out trying to become entrepreneurs, to see if it's for them, so it starts from the basic and it goes all the way to taking it to the next level, getting your 1-800 number, starting your LLC and stuff like that. So I'm creating these courses, and these are going to be online, asynchronous. And my last business is Novelty IQ, and I started off with like little nerdy mugs and shirts, designs that had like little programming algorithms and stuff on it. And there's one that says there are quite a few for teachers, and it says, "Dear teacher, to teach me to color inside the line, you realize that you have to teach outside of the lines, and I'm glad you get it or understand it," something like that. And so that's one of my favorites. That's for autism. That's one of my hashtag Teach Autism mugs. So and all of everything that I do, is EduSpire. It's like it almost sounds like education, but everything that I do, it's centered around education. So that's why when I was coming up with a name for my novelty, and there are other funny things. So it's not all just for teachers, and it's not just nerdy stuff. I mix it up a little, but I decided I wanted to kind of keep that one as far as the namesake. So I went with Novelty IQ because it sounds kind of smart and crafty. And that's what I was going for, smart and crafty. So, but one thing I did do is when I created my parent site, I have like a link for all my other sites and an explanation of what they are and what they do.
That's good. So give us the website, because that was my next question anyway. So give us the website.
Okay. It is EduSpire. LLC. Actually, I got it without the LLC too, so let me give it to you that way because I own both of the URLs. EduSpire, and that is spelled EDGE, Edge, the letter U, and Spire, SPIRE, EDGEUSPIRE.com.
Okay, thank you. How can you reach you on social media? Are you on any social media?
I am. That's all I can say. I am. I never remember my social media handles, but on my websites I have like links to my social media. I know one is Grow with STEM, and then it was like when I did the interview with Channel 13, I found out that it's like a background check. They were looking at all my social media and stuff, and then she just, well,
you don't have a personal Facebook? I said, well, nobody calls me LaTanya, so it's Tanya. I said, if y'all were doing a background check, you could have just asked. So I sent her a link. So I can send that link to, because I have it on the notepad of my phone. I just sent her a link to all my social media. But those websites, once you go to them, especially the Grow with STEM, they have like little links down there, and it goes to my social media. Because like my Twitter, I have one for Grow with STEM, and I have one for Next Level Book Publishing. Same thing with Instagram. I haven't really created anything for Intellect for Success or as far as social media yet, because I'm still working on the courses, so I haven't loaded them yet. But when you go to and that's why I have everything on the parent site. And coincidentally, if you go to each one of my small sites, it also says, check out our affiliate sites. So you can click there, and it'll take you back to the parent site that has all the other. I have everything where it's separate but connected.
Okay. That's good. That's good. I have enjoyed my conversation with you, Miss Tanya.
Girl, I told you we didn't need anybody else. I told you we can go. We can do this.
Somebody would have been mad at us anyway. They just keep on talking. They ain't even talking to me.
I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, this was really good. It was different than the regular writing stuff, but sometimes I want people to see, the whole point of this podcast is to see the whole writer. You know, sometimes people that they talk so much about their books, but they don't show the other side of writing. There's
the inspiration behind it and the story behind how it started. And because the thing is, you said you always, you didn't never think that people could make a living. And it's like I wanted to write a book years before I wrote a book, but I didn't have any direction. I was like, I just wanted to write a book. I just wanted to write something, because I'm always giving people so much information. I'm like the person people come to for almost everything. So I was like, maybe if I write a book on some stuff, people stop coming to me. And so then, when I started teaching, I was like, I want to write a children's book. I bet that'll be fun. But I couldn't do it until I had a direction. And when STEM became a big thing in our district, I was tapped a lot. I mean, they flew me to Howard University, to trainings, and I ended up training a lot of the higher-ups because they found that I have a programming background, because I majored in computer info systems. So I was so big into STEM, and that's when it hit me. I'm doing this for my school. This that I'm doing, this awareness that I'm bringing, I need to be bringing, I can, if I write books, I can take this all over the world. I can inspire many more people. That's why I love going out to the schools, doing, speaking to kids. Sometimes I come, I'm like, how many are you going to have? I have like these little goodie bags for the kids and stuff. I just love it.
My son got me invited to his school when I published my book, and I wrote the book about book promotion, but I never thought that I would go into schools and talk to kids about being a writer, following your dreams. And so his teacher was just impressed that I had wrote a book, so she invited me to come and talk to the kids. And I mean, those kids turned my whole life around on what I wanted to write about. I never thought that I would write middle grade books, and that they just inspired me so much. They like half of them had IG accounts. They were writing poetry, they were writing stories, they had graphic books they were doing. This was 6th and 7th graders, and I was just like, wow. And I said when I retired that's one of the things I want to do is start a writing program to go back into the schools, because that's why, like, Miss Hoffman, can you come and do an after-school program for us?
And I'm thinking real hard about it now.
But I'm thinking about that's when I retired, that's what I want to do, even if it's just once a week, go in there. Stuff with the kids. Like I told you, I was a PTO person, so I did Girl Scouts. I did all kinds of stuff with the kids. I know that the kids, they don't dream, and so they don't dream because their parents don't dream, and so they don't know anything about
Or they all dream about being on a record label or sports.
Yeah, that's the only.
And
the only thing that they
yeah,
can do.
and nothing's wrong with that, but you know, you need to have more than one vision. If you because in sports is a little too volatile. You can get hurt, and that's it. You know.
Yeah.
You can be the best of the best in high school and go to college and find out just how competitive it is, and it won't go further than that. You know, anything.
Well, it's not forever either. Most of them are done by 40. So what are you going to do after that? You know, and you still got to worry about what you're going to do after that, unless you put
you need to be educated because you need to have money, financial skills. You need to, you know, have the knowledge of how you're going to make this last, or how you're going to take what you have and multiply it. So you need financial literacy skills.
Yeah, they just get them big checks and spend it all up, and then you see them later. They ain't got no money. They working at a you know, somewhere. You be like, wouldn't you? Yeah, I would. you know,
so I'm really thinking about because I'm already at the school. So and I know I have 2 kids that I'm working on, and I'm pretty sure that I'm going to end up publishing at least 2 of them, those 2. But one thing about me, and one thing that I had to explain to Channel 13 when they were researching me last week, is when they asked me, okay, so I see your Instagram, so you don't have a personal Instagram? And I thought I didn't, but I just found that I did because I was like, where'd this come from? But, you know, my daughter created accounts for me, too. I'm not big on creating accounts because what I do, the only way I get my stuff on Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff, because I have password fatigue and I forget passwords and stuff, when I post to my Grow with STEM blog or my Next Level Book Publishing blog, there's a button where I can automatically post to my social media as well. And so that's about as good as it gets. I'm trying to train my daughter to be my social media manager, but, you know, she's not about that life yet, so I'm still working on that.
I try to like I'm crazy, so you know.
But what I was telling Channel 13, I was like, look, I am what I do. Not all teachers are what they do. You know, I grew up in a family of teachers, and when you look at my personal Facebook and you look at my business and my personal, I said they're all the same. Because, and I'm also, you know, I can admit I'm a workaholic. But I said, so if you look at, because she was looking for all these separate accounts. And I was like, I'm me, who I am all the time. And I think that is why students are always inspired by me. Because, you know, I have students writing stuff to get published because I am an author at their school and I inspire them. I have students who want to be programmers because I started them coding ever since the 1st grade. Look, Clover she's already telling me she's going to work for Microsoft. She's a 4th grader. So I'm already inspiring them to dream big. And one thing that I always tell them, do not limit themselves by someone else's expectations of them.
Exactly. Yes, because people will tell you.
And so that's what a lot of us need to remember.
Black people don't do that. I hate when people say that. So, well, we gonna do it today.
Well, there was one lady on my street. You know, we lived in South Park, so we lived in the hood, and then there was one street that looked better than one house on the street that looked better than all the other houses. We called that the 2-story house because that was the only house that had 2 stories. The 2-story, you say the 2-story house, everybody know which house it is. And so these people in the 2-story house, they were kind of uppity and thought that they were better than us. But now that I look back at it, I never thought about this. We were all in the same neighborhood. We were all in South Park, but for some reason, they were the 2-story house.
Right.
And so this lady, you know, I was walking down the street and walking, you know, and I was just walking, and, you know, she pretty much told me that I wasn't going to be anything and that I was going to be pregnant before I was 16. I had my first child when I was 26, and I am far from nothing. That's all I can say.
Well,
prove them wrong.
Like one of the things I found that people say stuff like that, they're miserable. And so they
Misery
don't
loves
want
company.
they want to put misery in your mind so it can eat your mindset up. People, they tell you that, oh, you don't want to do that. You don't want to be like that. Or I heard that too. Y'all fast tail kids. Y'all gonna be having kids by the time you're 16. And I didn't have a child till I was 28. So,
but you know what? You know what the sad thing is? A lot of that negativity also comes from within the family.
Yeah, because like I said, misery. A lot of people are very unhappy, and so they want to keep it. They don't want. Why you doing that? Why you got a business? Why you trying to help people? You ain't all that. You just got a little book.
You know what? I told myself that. It's funny because I said that about myself, actually. Because I did the little Channel 13 thing, and I talked to them about education, mental health, and and free community college and subsidized daycare and stuff like that for the middle class. Because I'm a strong proponent of the middle class. And so I did my little interview and stuff, and still I'm like, I was on the national news, but nobody knows me. And so the people and the students in the Bronx, they're like, so do people ask you for your autograph? I was like, I wish. I said, why do y'all want my autograph? And then I told them, I was like, look, it's funny. I said, I'm in Houston, but I'm like in all the articles in Dallas. And, I've been in some Houston articles. And I said, I was on NBC News, but it was in Florida. I was like, so nobody in Houston really knows me. And so I got an email. Somebody contacted my publicist, and they also posted something. They went into the Grow with STEM, and she was a librarian in Virginia, and she wanted me to come and speak at her school and wanted to know how much I charged. So I was looking. I was like, okay, she's in Virginia. So she said, okay, it'll be for several classes, but it's via Zoom. So and I looked at her. I said, oh, yeah, she thinks she hit the jackpot with me. She was like, okay, I want you to cover, based on your books, I want you to cover Black History Month, National Women's Month, Autism Awareness Month, and STEM. I was like, dang, I'm a one-woman show. Didn't realize that. So I was like, okay, yeah, we can talk. I can do that. Yes, I was like, and all of them are back-to-back. Black History, February. Women's, March. Autism, April. So, Olivia responded back to us like, yeah, she can do it. And so this lady writes back, and she's like, I am so excited that she's like, that she is going to be coming to our school. I'm going to run and tell my principal right now. I'm so excited that I sat on this for a few days. I thanks for this opportunity. And I'm like, who does she think I am? She think I'm Beyonce? I'm looking. It's like one of those things where you start looking around. You're like, what, me? So,
four different topics you can talk about. That's good. A lot.
Yeah, but you know what? And speaking of Beyonce, that's part of my inspiration, because I remember because I worked in an auto repair shop for years, this Vietnamese, and Beyonce's mom, dad, dad was always coming in. You need to let Tina do your hair. Who's braiding your hair? Why you ain't letting Tina braid your hair? And then Tina would come in, and we would just sit there and talk. And she was like, yeah, my daughter, they're finally making music now. Because, they had been making music, but they hadn't been really, like, getting recognition. She said, they're getting recognition. They was on the soundtrack. And I was like, what's the name of the group? She said, Destiny's Child. I said, I ain't never heard of Destiny's Child. And she said, yeah, my daughter, her name's Beyonce. I said, ooh, that's a pretty name. And, she was explaining to me how she got the name and stuff. I was like, that's different. I've never heard of a Beyonce. And so she was like, yeah, I'm going to tell her to come in and bring you some stuff. So Beyonce and Kelly walks in, and because Mom told them to, hey, go up there and take Tanya this stuff. So they brought me all these posters and free CDs and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, sign it. So they signed it and stuff. And so I put it in, like, we had, like, this little back room storage area with all these shelves. I put it back there. And so No, No, No came out. I was like, oh, that's them. So I was all excited and stuff. Now I look back at it, and it's like after a few years she got big. And I was like tearing that room up trying to find my posters and stuff. My boss threw them. I was like, where did you put the posters in the CD? He said, oh, when I was cleaning out, oh, you didn't take it home, so I felt you didn't want it. I threw it away. I was so mad at him. Now he's mad at himself for doing it. I was like, what?
Signed posters. That probably
yeah, but I just remember them, you know, they worked so hard. And, you know, Matthew, he was like, you know, he worked hard for those girls, and because I thought he was crazy. He was like, yeah, I quit my job to manage the girls. I said, you quit your job? I said, but it's just one song. He said, no, they're going to be big. I said, okay. and look at them now.
I remember when they came. I always say my daughter introduced me to Destiny Child. She was 2, and she loved bills. We pay my bills. Now she in the back seat. Telephone bills.
Yeah.
I was like, what is you singing? And she didn't know what she was singing, but she had heard the song on the radio. And
about
then
bills.
And I said. And I said, you don't know that you introduced me to Destiny Child, because I didn't know who they was when they first came out. One of my favorite concerts is Beyonce. Me and my sister went to see her, and it was amazing. She had one of the best concerts. I don't think I ever saw Destiny Child, but I saw her do a concert.
Yeah, her and Beyonce and Kelly. Or even, you know, because, you know, they've gone through changes in the group, and then Michelle came on, LaToya. But they were always like the little duet. They were always together, because she'd come up there, and then Kelly come up there, kind of pigeon-toed. And, you know, they would always come up there together, pick up the car, whatever. So those two, I just remember, because I don't remember if I ever seen anybody else come up there with her except for Kelly.
All right, well, I'm not going to keep you any longer. I'm going to close this little podcast out. I want to thank you for being our guest today. I hope that our listeners had some good nuggets out of this conversation. I want to thank our sponsors, Building Your Readership by LaShaunda Hoffman. Check the show notes for the link to purchase. I want to thank you, our listeners, for taking time to listen to the podcast. Now, I have my 3 questions for you. Did you learn something from this episode? If you did, please share the podcast with your community. Would you like to be a guest for an episode? Contact me at onesormag@gmail.com. One last question. Have you promoted your book of business today? If you haven't, go showcase those wings. Someone needs what you have to offer. This is LaShaunda Hoffman, and I will see you on the next.